You have to go back nearly a decade to find a more meaningful postseason game involving a Charlotte sports team in the city of Charlotte, where it's actually taking place. And that's what's happening tonight at Bank of America Stadium. Charlotte FC hosting Orlando City SC in game two of the MLS Cup playoffs, round one, best of three series. Joining me now is play by play voice of your Charlotte FC soccer club, Will Palaszczuk. Will, thanks for joining me, man. It's going to be a great night.
Always good to join you, Nick. And I just wish they kick it off already. I'm ready to go tonight.
Let's start with the obvious. Pep BL, we know it's been adjudicated. The appeal has failed. Charlotte FC is miffed and obviously motivated, but tactically, how do they overcome the absence of one of their best players up front?
It's a difficult thing to miss because he had felt and filled a very specific role for Charlotte FC based on the fact that he had become kind of a Swiss Army knife in the attack. He had been able to flank out wide and send balls in. He'd also been able to cut in and be a talisman in his own right. And there are very few players who can really fill that role. And it's part of the reason why they brought him in. They brought him in to kind of be an all everything creator. And it takes a lot of that away from Charlotte FC's palette. And I'm very curious to see how Dean Smith goes about doing this because he can do a number of different things. You have the potential to keep Karol Swiderski up there up top and play one of their more conventional wingers, whether it's Kerwin Vargas, whether it's Brandon Cambridge, Yuri Tavares, maybe move Leo Labata over to that side and play one of those guys I previously mentioned over to the other side. There's a lot they can potentially do in that potential vein. The other part of this, and it's something that I brought up with Dean in the press conference on Wednesday, is look, you obviously love what Patrick Agyeman can do off the bench. Starting Patrick off the bat, maybe putting Carroll on the wing or using him as a second striker is something that I think a lot of people have kind of wondered and been very, very curious about. He's kind of tamped that down a little bit. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily a realistic option, but there's also, I think, a very big high faction, and a lot of MLS pundits have looked at this and said, this has to happen. There's a lot of people clamoring for Patrick Agyeman to start without question. I'm kind of in that camp myself. We'll see how Dean feels about it. I feel like on balance, it has been best for Charlotte FC when they've used Carroll for around an hour of time and then used Patrick for around a half an hour at the end of contest. That's been kind of their best plan of attack. However, it's not as if Patrick's goals have only come in the final 30 minutes of games. He's been able to dictate policy. He's been able to dictate problems for the other side when he started from the beginning. I mean, he got a goal against DC United, and a lot of that was coming from thankless work that happened early and was able to be a very, very big boon late. So I honestly feel like this is one of the tougher decisions that Dean Smith's had to make. It's only made harder by the fact that you don't have one of your biggest principal playmakers in Pep BL. It's a tough decision for tonight.
We see this happen in sports all the time when you have a team that doesn't have much playoffs experience together. That first game, they kind of get punched in the mouth. Is that kind of what happened in your mind in Orlando in game one?
Well, I think the part of it, and Dean spoke to this a little bit after the game and a little bit also on Wednesday, is that it just did not seem like they met the moment well. And he even asked them at halftime of the Sunday game, are you guys actually enjoying yourself out there and enjoying your football? And they came out in the second half and looked a heck of a lot better. I mean, they were very much more the aggressor in the other part of that second half. They just did not get the right moments going forward. They weren't able to connect that final pass. And it really was, I think, something that, if you maybe had that particular effort from the start of the contest, maybe it's a different outcome. But they put themselves behind the eight ball with the way they started the contest. That goal they conceded in the 32nd minute had been coming, and it meant that you had to chase the game the whole rest of the way. And goals change games, goals change moments. If Charlotte FC somehow got to the end of the half in the opening portion of that contest at 0-0, that's probably a different second half, particularly with the adjustments Charlotte FC made. But because they had to be more the aggressor, that left them more open on the back end, which is what allowed them to score, them being Orlando to score that second goal and it led to the final outcome. I don't think they played as badly as they did to deserve a 2-0 score line, but that's the way these things play out. But I think having seen what it's going to look like, being at home should yield a better form. Whether that yields a victory remains to be seen tonight.
they took a big swing, the Teppers and Zoran Kernetta, to go get Dean Smith from across the pond, and it's apparently worked out. It seems like it was the right call. What has he done to have success in year one? And what questions maybe has he answered about whether he or not he could do this?
The biggest thing that he did is something different than every manager does that comes into this league, and particularly the ones in England. I think a lot of people look at this league as a league that is built on offense and built for scoring. There's a lot of lopsided score lines that happen in this league. A lot of 3-2 back and forth, a lot of 4-3. Dean calls it basketballish. The thing that he cut through with is that, look, in this stage of our development, we have talented offensive players. We have guys who can change games with one kick of the ball, but there are other teams that have world-class players like a Lionel Messi, like a Cucho Hernandez, like a Hani Mukhtar. And those teams, in order to play with those teams, you have to be sound defensively. So making that structure happen from a pragmatic and from a detailed standpoint is where he started his principles of building the team. He wanted to build the team on defense. And I don't think a lot of teams and a lot of coaches have their projects singularly focused on that aspect of the game. I think a lot of times, because unfortunately, the way that it goes, Nick, is a lot of the money in this league is spent on the offensive side of the ball. All the DPs are either wingers, central attacking midfielders, or strikers. It's very rarely that you get a DP who is a defender, and it's even more rare that you get a DP who's a goalkeeper. So as long as you have the money more centrally located on the offensive side, it makes the defenses in this league very much put together on a bargain basement budget type scenario. But Charlotte FC has not gone about their business that way. They've re-signed Adilson Malanda. They re-signed Andrew Privet. They went out and got Tim Ream on a TAM deal. They re-signed Nathan Byrne. They gave Christian Kalina a new contract. They firmed up their back. They played a more pragmatic style, a more simple style going into this season. It's got them from being where they were second most goals conceded in the Eastern Conference to the least goals conceded in the Eastern Conference. And that turnaround is something that is not being talked enough by folks in MLS circles, because that's what I thought should have gotten Dean Smith Coach of the Year votes, because he took a defense that was largely unchanged, bar one person, and that's Tim Ream, largely unchanged, and took it from the second worst defense statistically in the Eastern Conference to the best.
Both Dean Smith and Ashley Westwood, in their comments after Sunday night's game one loss, indicated something to the effect of, it'll be different at the bank. What do you think this home field advantage, this home crowd, this group of supporters gives their club when they're out there in a game like this?
Well, I find that interesting because early in the season, Dean Smith said a lot of times this team, under previous iterations, or at least based on his initial observation, relied on the home field maybe a little bit too much, and kind of took, all the away points as being, oh, well, we can't go win on the road. We can't get points on the road. And Charlotte's gone into some of the toughest places to play in Major League Soccer and won games. They went up to Cincinnati and won. And not very many teams go and do that. So from that aspect, you look at it and say, okay, it's about playing the same home and road regardless of venue. But just the fact that you kind of know where Charlotte FC's home form is gives you confidence that it is going to look different tonight. And I had this stat that had kind of, permeated through. They have something like 4 losses in the last 35, 36 contests they've played in that building. It is not an easy place to come in and win. And the games that they have lost have been outlier type contests. They lost an unfortunate blowout game to Minnesota, where I think that they were just kind of thrown off by the rhythm of the game and maybe overlooked that opponent. They lost a heartbreaker to Atlanta. They lost another heartbreaker to Inter Miami. But, outside of that, there aren't that many times you look at them and say that they've been played off their home field. And I think all you need in this game, you need to draw or better, because a draw gets you to penalties, or a win gets you another opportunity to go down to Orlando. I think they feel very confident playing in that building. They played Orlando very well in that building. That game was 11 on 11 for a while, and you looked like they were going to dictate the terms. They took an unfortunate red card in that contest with Scotty Arfield, changed the game. They got a goal down to 10 men in the second half, if you remember. So,
Mhm.
from that aspect, you feel like you should be able to at least get it even going to penalties, and then you take your chances with the skills competition there. But if they can go back to a lot of those things that they did well, which is dictate the terms, be the aggressor. One of the things Ashley Westwood said is they showed the team almost too much respect, which was something that I feel like, Dean Smith echoed in his comments both Sunday and Wednesday. If they can remember how they got there, then I think they can be not only the aggressor, but the victor tonight to force a game three a week from tomorrow in Orlando.
You've been around this city since before MLS. You've been a part of this thing the whole way. How special is tonight just for this city and the sport in this city?
It's a culmination for a lot of people who have been at this, whether they've been here for the time going all the way back to when, Joe LeBou actually told us a story. We were recording in the area that is just off the press box. If you know the way that the Bank of America Stadium uh, architecture is, it's kind of in that suite level area. And there's an office that's just off of where that recording studio is that served as the meeting point for what was called the Other Football Project, which was an after work activity that a select group of people, Joe LeBou was on that panel and a couple of others who have been with this since the beginning. They were all on that panel and they were called to task. How is this going to work? What's it going to be? How long will it take to compete? Is there enough of an appetite for this in the city? And I think when you look back now, 3 years into it, you can say that the answer is a resounding yes. I think that there is an excitement about this team. I mean, you see, I wear this Charlotte FC garb everywhere around the city, and it always exudes a reaction from somebody. And whether they've been to a game, whether they've heard about it from somebody else, whether they're a season ticket holder, dyed in the wool, or they just got tickets, or they've only been here for a couple of years, or only in here 5 minutes, they know that this is a special atmosphere. This is a team people can get behind, and it's also one thing too, Nick, that people don't really have a previous experience or relation to. I mean, if you move to this city, you probably had another football team you rooted for. If you moved to this city, you probably had another NBA team you rooted for or a baseball team you rooted for. There are not a lot of people who move here who have a previous MLS or soccer affiliation that is in the American sports pyramid. Now, some people do and make the change, and it's been very great. And we welcome those guys, but this is something that for Charlotteans, particularly those who are of a recent vintage, this is a team that they can rally behind. It's a winning team. It's a great atmosphere. And I think they have been the exact thing this city has needed from a sports aspect, given the current environment, what's going on currently.
Willie P, drink that tea, buddy. We're going to need a lot of goal calls tonight. Keep sipping.
We'll need it. We'll need it.